Hello, the title of this video is Flashlights and EMP. First, let me present myself, and I know I am addressing a lot of preppers, maybe worldwide, and I hope so. I am recovering from a cold, so my voice isn't on the my voice is on the mend, basically. So, flashlights and EMP. There is a danger that I see, and a danger and a error that I see lots and lots of preppers especially commit. Okay, and an idea that is not the right one. But now, as I already looked respectful, I am going to turn this on a much informal or more informal lesson or small lesson or what I hope to be a small lesson, because if I presented myself at first like this, you will... Okay, so I am Portuguese. I am 53 years old. My name is Domingos. In 1995, I graduated in electrical engineering, especially in the field of grids, grid down scenario. And then I worked for the Portuguese education for the government. I worked also a long part of my teaching years for a school that I have to pay my homage to, which is called Estel. And in there I have first the person that somehow created it, which is, and I hope he's still alive, Engineer George Archer. I left that school due to other subjects, but that is not the matter of the video. But I had very good colleagues like George Flavio, which was the responsible for the maintenance of Sony equipment in the part where I live. Engineer Saavedra, which is now like in politics and working like for I believe radar companies and such. I also worked with people that worked on OMROM, that the company that deals with health measuring equipment, Silva Pereira, and the others who wrote books about digital systems. I was teacher of digital systems, of electrical installations, of electronics, also of illumination in part, and also teacher of systems of audio and reception. So also I was a colleague with a gentleman called Armando, engineer. He worked in NASA in the United States. Also had a very good colleague, which is called José Ferreira, Fernão Gravito and such. But now that I have given you like a perspective of my knowledge, being a small survivalist, I don't consider myself a prepper. I don't have more than like 15 days of reserve of food. Now I have got to increase it because we are going to war times. We are living war times. We are already at war. And I remember that I'm going to the subject. I made one time a video directed to Canadian prepper as an answer, like explaining him the differences between lumens and candela and such, that also is a very controversial, not controversial, it's not controversial, it's only controversial to the persons who don't understand it, because candela is one thing, lumens is a lumen. In fact, we say lumens, many times people say lumens, but it's not lumens, because scientific units do not have a plural, so it's lumen. Okay, so, but let's go to the subject of this video. Okay, I see that the flashlight business is booming, and that is good, because I am a lover of flashlights, and I also like to comment in channels that I follow, the channels from guys who are very knowledgeable in the field of flashlights, but don't focus exactly on this side like of preparation, or although I believe they are somewhat preppers. So it's obvious that today lighting technology is very evolved, and we have like this. This is an Armitech Zippy. Look at this. So such a small device with such a luminous power. Okay, so it is obvious that big flashlight, all the flashlight brands transitioned to LEDs. Although Maglite still produces incandescent lights, which is very, very good and a very good idea. Maglite people, although of course in a normal situation the LEDs are obviously more powerful. This is an LED lenser, the LED lenser HR set, which I showed in another video. Look, I can focus the beam. Okay, so very good flashlight, fueled by one 21700 battery. But let's go to the point. Are we, like as preppers, being smart about the flashlights we are buying and putting in our bug out bags? Most of you, sorry, because it is my field, no. So what happened? So recently there was, and I have in another room a Nivo lab, Nivo is a brand, Nivo LED flashlight, and Streamlight is another known brand, more known than Nivo. But two of them got fried in a strong thunderstorm with the magnetic fields of the thunderstorm. So that means that the LED is fried, and we cannot replace LEDs, at least easily. And if there is a large EMP, a lot of LEDs are going to burn. Okay, so it is wise that preppers also have and invest in incandescent flashlights. Yes, and I will explain you why, and why you are all making a mistake, or most of you, and I am going to explain why. So, and I'm going to try to explain it in the simplest ways. So, you know that, for instance, light allows speed. What do I mean by this? What do I mean by this is, when you look at a competition car, like at a rally car, you see that when they race at night, they have strong headlights, they have extra headlights. Jeeps, all-terrain vehicles have mounts for extra light. So extra light allows speed, because if I put like this place, this is a Miltech with an incandescent lamp. If I light my way with this, if I go like more than, I cannot go more, even if in a bike, I cannot go more than like 7 miles per hour, 10 miles per hour, because I am not able to see the ground in order to stop my movement if there is some obstacle or some danger. So light allows speed. So it is obvious that we say, like, when you are riding a bike, you should have more than such lumen. But that is not so linear in the flashlight realm. I remember that Chuck Yeager, and most of you probably are fans of guns. I like them, but I'm not as a fan of them as I am of flashlights. But Chuck Yeager one time asked, and Chuck Yeager had like a partnership with Surefire that he did. Okay, but we'll get there. And one time he asked Dr. I forgot his name, one of the founders of Surefire, one of the scientists. He asked like, but if we do this like in a simple way, would we have this result? And the guy said, no, it's not exactly that, because like I can have 60 lumen from a source, from a, like the P60 bulb of Surefire, that I don't know if Surefire still produces, but there are a lot in the surplus market, a lot of them. Anyway, Maglite still does incandescent and other type of bulbs. So, what happens is this. An EMP, let's explain basically what is an EMP. An EMP is like you figuring, like, imagine that suddenly the air became full of electrical particles, of electrical charged particles. And people say, well, Faraday cages, they protect against EMP, okay, in general, but it's not guaranteed that your Faraday cage will protect your equipment. So, okay, basically you should like wrap aluminium foil, and then, for instance, if I wanted to isolate this flashlight, I would wrap it in paper, and then I would put like aluminium foil around it, or like some people say, pick up a trash bag and a metal trash bag, and put isolate the interior, and then put your equipment, your electronic equipment in there. And there are already made up bags that are made in order to protect from electrical discharges and such. But when we are at wars, we are dealing with another type of thing that is electronic warfare. And I have, since my 17th, been studying like also that field. I also have been inside the various NATO ships, ships like in warships. And because I remember one time me and my brother went to visit, it was a Portuguese frigate, and the guys had to call the pilot of the helicopter, of the frigate's helicopter, to answer our question. So yeah, I'm great, it's okay. But no, I'm really not. But I just want you to help you on this field, and I also would like to have more subscribers. It is somewhat good. Anyhow, what happens, like I was talking, what happens when there is an EMP, an electromagnetic pulse? So, in order for a lamp to work, this is a Fulton incandescent, which is the best way to me to have your flashlight protected against like an EMP. Of course, that I use LED lights. I use a tactical light. There's no, like I showed you, the headlamp, the small. This is also, the zip is also a headlamp. Okay, I use a tactical light. It's an LED, of course, because I want to have the same advantages as you. You mean if you come running after me, like running after me, and I cannot run at a certain pace, I am going to be caught up. So unless an EMP develops itself or is created, LED flashlights give you the advantage, of course. Okay, but now remember that even the Prime Minister of Britain is saying it's people to start to trust more on your phone landline and they're on cell phones. And the Portuguese people have the real experience of having like a lot of dead people due to forest fires, which are a problem in Portugal. And even when we had like lots of training in fighting them, our firefighters are very good in fighting huge forest fires, but when the communication fell off, it was the walkie-talkies and the quick mindset of the firefighters that became like isolated into towns, that allowed for things to move through, even in the way they used satellite to communicate to the rest of the country, using the satellite relay systems of the TV crews who were covering the fire, because cell phones are no-go or almost no-go in a survival situation, even in the way they work like by multiplexers and such. But okay, now let's think about birds. Okay, so this is a wire, and you know this is a high tension wire in a pole. Okay, you know that birds land on the wires and they don't get electrocuted. Why? Because between this electrified wire, imagine this is a wire, between this electrified wire and the ground, there is voltage, there is a difference of potential, and volts are like, what is the potential? If I have a glass of water, okay, I have the potential of turning it down and drop the water. When the water drops, there is a current like in a river. So, what kills things is current. So, if a bird, if a paratrooper falls on a high tension wire, if he does not touch the other wires or the frame of the pole, there's no problem, because there is no current. So, but when you have devices like this with LEDs and micro LEDs and micro technology and such, small currents can fry the LED. Because of what? Because without speaking about the technology, without going into details about the technology of that is in here, one part of the circuit has got more resistance than the other. One part is the ground in the LED and the other part is all that feeds the LED. As much, when we see a flashlight with several functions like strobe, like this one that changes the brightness of it, when we see this, we have one part of the circuit that is going to place more resistance in one side of the circuit because the other side is the ground, which corresponds, which is a match for the negative or for the chassis of your car and such. So electrical vehicles are dangerous somehow. Okay, moving on. So what is the best way? So this is a Fulton, the same brand that the guys in Vietnam use it. So I can go in here and when I have this lamp like this on the air, what I mean on the air, when I do not have the batteries inside and in general, one of these lights is not going to be burnt by English is not my native language, by an EMP. Because of what? It is the same thing that happens with the bird's feet or paws. If the air becomes full of electricity, the same electricity that applies to the negative is the one who applies to the positive terminal of the lamp, of the incandescent lamp. And one thing that people don't know is that the length of the centimeters or the inches of the wires, as big as if a wire has a lot of length, if a wire is bigger, it will have more current, more tension, more voltage induced in it. Okay? So this means that first, incandescent flashlights are the best to resist EMPs. Okay? So if you are able to buy a Fulton or an incandescent Maglite, or even, and there is in Portugal a shop that I go to that is connected to the security business that sells the surefire incandescents, it's a good investment. Because of what? Because if the air is fully, like, even if it is hundreds of thousands of volts, and look at this in terms of electronic warfare, okay? Like vehicles and ships and airplanes are protected by some codes or by some technologies that are anti-EMP, electromagnetic pulse resistance. But there is in electricity a point at which resistance breaks and we have an electrical arc. So recently in that thunderstorm, a Streamlight and an Evo burned because, is a flashlight, this is a LED, a cheap LED one, like $10. But this is not a long metal case, so the currents in it are not going to be very big, so flashlights in a small mindset can resist EMPs, but we have now the proof that they don't. And the formulas, the scientific formulas, the things of specifications of EMP can change a lot. So, if I apply the same voltage to this and this, I cannot have current. If I cannot have a current and the EMP is going to apply the same voltage to this and this, to this point and this point, to the positive and the negative, I'm not going to have light. But now, as I was talking about electrical resistance, for instance, NATO vehicles are said to have like a protection of 70,000 volt between the vehicle and the ground. But what if the Russians have an EMP that is like 150,000 volt? There's 80,000 volt of difference. Is the vehicle going to resist, or the circuits of the vehicle going to resist that type of EMP? And then we have an EMP is also a function of distance, like, and this is also important for you to know. For instance, if a high tension wire falls to the ground, like this is the ground, a high tension wire falls, it is charged around the point where it fell in the ground. As much as I go further from that central point, the voltage is going to diminish. So if I run, the space between my legs is going to the farther the space between my legs, if I were not isolated by that, because then I can use rubber shoes and such, okay. But if I ran, how much the spread of my legs is going to be the match for the number of volts which I'm going to be shocked with. So the best way is to move with very small steps, like not even lifting your feet. And you can say sometimes, oh, but why doesn't in floods a lot of times the people don't get electrocuted? It depends, but in general, because they are subjected to the same potential. Now, what happens in this LED is that there is here the LED in itself. The junction of what makes an LED is like a chemical substrate that burns itself in a electrical and chemical reaction. So what happens is that it's not a wire like an incandescent bulb, and even small currents now can fry it, and that is why in modern factories that make ships, even the person is linked with a bracelet that is linked to the ground, because even the electrostatic current of the person when working on the board, when there is not an automatic chain link system that produces and places, like with robot arms, the components, that components are so tiny today that they fry easily. So there are people who are investing lots of money in all types of electrical equipment also, for instance, and that equipment is going to be fried. And then some say, okay, but should I ground like my Faraday cage? Not an easy question as this one for the flashlight. Best way to keep a flashlight, even if the batteries were inside. First, if the switch is off of the flashlight, you already have a for security. But at some point, when the current is very big, like a fuse for a high tension wire has got like sand in it, in order for when there is that surge of energy, the heat is so much that it melts the sand, that transforms itself into glass, that cuts the current. So what I am saying is, simply, what is the most effective flashlight to have and that may resist an EMP? The incandescent one. Simple. That is the main focus of this video, and we are all buying LED flashlights. Of course I buy them too, I like them, but remember this: best way to protect them, okay, in a Faraday cage, and but even if it was on a Faraday cage, an incandescent, it will be hard, very hard to burn, even with the batteries inside. Even with the batteries inside. Now, now let me expand a little bit. So, let me expand a little bit about the grid. If we are talking, and there is now bombs that are like, for me to shut down parts of the grid, that can be done manually, and that it can be done by cyber attack, and it can be done even by kinetic attack. If I go to a substation and or a transforming station and shoot the oil in the transformers, and the oil has a function in there, I can leave like a block of the city on the darkness. But how is the grid connected? But there are central points. Like, imagine the electrical grid as if it is a fishing net. If I have if I have a square, okay, like imagine this. This line feeds, or these lines feeds a part of the city. Okay. How do we call a part of the city? Okay. So this is a street, this is another street, this is another street, this is another street. There is the possibility, like if this is a fishing net, like if this was a fishing net, there is the possibility that I feed, now imagine a lot of squares. I can feed this from here, or this from here, or this from here, or this from here, or between here, and I can change the points of feeding. Okay, so if somehow I have a fault in this part, I can isolate this part from these ones, and these neighborhoods are not going to be affected, while I can make repairs on this one. This is the way linemen work. They cut a part of the grid and they fix the other. Okay, and there is security protocols and such. But now, another thing, in radio communications, and now going a little bit also to the drones. Drone is very good, but in an EMP, or you can say, okay, but I have night vision goggles, I have thermal vision, I have night vision. Okay, fine. I also have a cam light in my get-on bag, and the cam light, or more than one, in my bug-out bag. And I remember one time, years ago, someone said I show with my bug-out bag, and there was a surefire incandescent flashlight, and a guy told me, like, full of, Sure, fire incandescent flashlight, but that only lasts 60 minutes. Yes, but it is not going to fry with an EMP. But for instance, if Surefire, Portuguese ones, there are good ones in the Milicia store, milicia.com, in Vila Nova Gaia. I'm not sponsored, I just know them, I'm a client. But see, he didn't know. Okay, he knew what he was talking about, but he didn't knew that I had also thought about that I was perhaps more experienced than him. Of course, that I have got like this chargeable or the other chargeable LED lenser, but what if that is an EMP? And preppers. Now look at what will happen. A guy, you have invested thousands of dollars, probably, in amazing flashlights, and I have nothing wrong against it. You are good. I think you do good. And remember, as sensible preppers say, such, and it is true, light is your main security tool. And even if you have a knife and a flashlight, you are going to use more the flashlight if you carry it with you always. So, and you can also in electronic shops and such, look at this here. This is like in Maglights, another lamp that I bought as a spare for this one. And Maglights bring a spare lamp. But I would caution you in Maglights to also isolate them more than that rubber that they bring with them. So incandescents are still a must for preppers. Now imagine this. Imagine that I have like a 70 or a 45 lumen flashlight, and I have it in a grid down or blackout. I have it working, and you don't have your LEDs working. Who has the advantage? Who can, like the rally car, runs faster? How can you chase me? Like if I have a 45 lumen mag light, I can ride my bike at night. And you, with your burnt LED ones. But I have Faraday cages. Faraday cages are not foolproof, like I have explained you with that talk about electronic warfare, because people in general tend to test Faraday cages with like they place a radio inside of them, and and they see if the radio plays. Okay. Look, if you are into M radio and such, you will know that the power of the emitter is different. Like, you can listen, if you don't have a license, you still can listen, but you cannot transmit. But when you transmit, even if we go to jamming, the best jamming is the one that doesn't use a lot of power. This was going to be complex, but let me go more to the point. What do I mean? The radio waves, a radio wave is a magnetic wave mixed with a electrical wave. In an EMP, the induced tension is going to be different from the tension that you are inducing into your radio. Okay, there are a lot of systems and variables in play. Yes, there are. Yes, there are. But that does not mean that a Faraday cage is a foolproof system. It's very good. They are very good. And I also have systems like a small radio that is protected and such, and another devices. So, and also, if you have crank flashlights, and it's good that you do, the same, they have LEDs in general, almost entirely, and it is good that you have them also protected inside of the box, aluminium foil, or inside of the Faraday cage. Now, the science about EMPs, if you go to Candle Power forums, there is a PDF that has the scientific, like, I believe, I didn't see the PDF. I only saw the link, but what I was going to say was, the Faraday cage is not foolproof, because the power of the electrical wave that feeds the radio, it's not a measure of security in a large percentage. Look at this, for instance. First, the technical advantage of having a functioning flashlight, and even if it is with the batteries inside, this is a Miltech incandescent. In order for an EMP, how much length of wire do I have in here in order to induce? The way we produce electricity is this. Is a simple one, and that is why we need movement. I'm going to explain you basically in a simple term. So imagine this. It all boils down to this. Even if the source is the burning of fossil fuels, being carbon or oil or petrol, coal, nuclear, it all boils to this. We have to produce vapor or water to move the shafts of the shafts in order to move a wire. When a wire, imagine this is the positive, and this is the negative, and this is the positive. If I move a wire through this, I have current in the wire. So when I have movement, I produce electricity that is not continuous, not direct current. It's not a sine wave form. But what I meant to say, and to be simple, is first, which is the best flashlight for a prepper to have, the most reliable? The one with incandescent. Okay? This is because I see a lot of preppers advertising and such, and this fails. Okay, so that's the first thing. Then best way of securing a flashlight, being it incandescent. If you want to put it in a Faraday cage, okay, but with the batteries outside of it. And if you see that an EMP comes because it fries all the other stuff, and today you can even look, even with Al Qaeda, they could get they could sense the microelectronics in the watches of the terrorists. Let us call them that. I'm not going into that. Okay, but Now, another thing. Big antennas allow the length of the antenna. What do you do when you tune a frequency on the radio, when you tune a radio channel or a TV channel or such? Basically, what you are doing is like you are changing the length of the antenna. Because the antenna, look at your cell phone, a lot of times you don't even see the antenna. Because of what? Because there is a coil that is in general in a circuit with a condenser. And even changing the capacity of that condenser changes electrically the length of the antenna without actually changing the length of it. Okay? But imagine this in a simple way. When you tune a frequency on your radio, it is like you are changing the length of your antenna. Because of what? Because you change the capacity of a capacitor that is linked with a coil, and it is that coil that constitutes part of the length of the antenna. So, for each change of radio channel or radio station, you are changing the length of your antenna. So what happened with the Carrington effect? As that even burned the telegraph stations, what happened? The length of the electrical wires was so big that the tension was so big that it made an electrical arc, which is an electrical arc. It is like a lightning, and there are lamps that are done especially with it. Now you also have lighters that are that function with that spark. If the current is too big, a spark can link and have an electric arc. A big electric arc is the lightning, connecting two points of different voltage, of different potential. And even now, another thing, for instance, why okay, let me frame this in correct English. If I have an helicopter and I'm going to do a rescue with a ship, it is good sometimes, or like with a submarine, that I link the frames of the helicopter and the ship in order for not to have that discharge. That is the principle of the bird's feet. Okay? So, now let me... another thing. I can also, like, for instance, if I want to produce a short circuit, imagine that I have an helicopter and I'm not even going to say this, but because probably this would give ideas to some people to attack like your grid and such, so I'm not going out to how to use an helicopter to do that. But main thing, preppers, invest in LED flashlights, but now you know which is the flashlight that withstands most EMPs, because in general people say, oh, it's this brand, and in general people say, oh, but Surefires are very like Surefires or others like Mod Lights or Cloud Defensives or LZs or such are expensive. Yes, of course they are, because they can have properties that are completely different from another. One thing is a good anodizing, another thing is a bad anodizing. Right? This came out in Portuguese. Look, I can have flashlights in which I don't have conductivity, like with a good anodizing. I I check for conductivity, like if I go here and do this, what happens? There is conductivity between those two test probes, okay? Between those two test probes, there are flashlights in which there is no conductivity within the body of the flashlight. So the flashlight might touch a charged metal and I don't get shocked. So it changes so much. For instance, Petzl, which is a good brand of headlamps, they have headlamps that withstand chemical environments and such, because you might go into a room, turn your flashlight, and if there is gas in that room or certain type of gas, it will ignite. In fact, a good way in which I tested was in which I could get a fire going was like with a flashlight, not even with the wire and the 9-volt battery. I could change. I did it this once. There was a light detector, an infrared light detector, and I made like a jeep with a toy bonnet pass in front of the motion detection system or detector, and with that I would produce fire. What did I do? I broke, but I would only produce it once, because the filament, the wire that burns, and that burns faster and hotter than some of the LEDs. What did I do? I increased the voltage, my electronics, a bit, to the voltage of the incandescent lamp. With a napkin, I broke the glass of the lamp, and I placed the filament of the lamp, like of tungsten, connected to cotton. So when the circuit ignited or closed itself, when there was current, that ignited the cotton end. Okay? So, if you like this video, comment down below, because I don't think there are a lot of videos done about this, and my most watched video is one where I tell people how to strip like the wires that come from a USB, and how to connect them, and how to charge rechargeable batteries. And for instance, like, let me give you another idea. As I know, when I was a teacher of technicians and probable future electricians and such, and people that were working, I also worked for an institution that was linked to the Portuguese fishing industry and such. I had like one student was working on an oil rig and such. So I can make and project the wiring of your house, so I know what I'm talking about. And I guess that's all for now. Let me check if I go through all of the points that I wanted. And that's it. I hope you like it. If you have questions, please post them down below. Post them down below in the comments. And I also have a series in which I will talk about drone defense and such. Look like, for instance, at drone defense. There are things that you can do that are illegal, so we must not do them. But look at how the armies, even in the Ukraine war, are defending from them. In general, they are building like chicken coops with net around vehicles. Because of what? Because if I give a distance between the point of impact of the detonator of the grenade that the drone carries and the surface, which is armored of the vehicle, I am giving it protection. It is like the same principle. One of the principles that we had to, but the armies had to diminish the effects of missiles and such, because there's always a fight between the bullet and the armor. One of the choices was reactive armor. What was reactive armor? The reactive armor is explosive. The projectile comes and this explodes. When this explodes, it dissipates energy on the other way and it sends part of the destruction element away. Although, for instance, in RPGs and such, part are explosives, part are melted materials, part are even with sables, kinetic energy. There would be a lot to talk about this, but the main point, I already made it to you. Okay, that's it. Hope you like it. I know it is big, but if you don't listen, you don't learn. If you don't read, you don't learn. All the best.